It's Sunday, the 23rd of September 2018. I wanted to blitz through a few of the Australian gold miner charts. I put a video up 5 or 6 weeks ago and I was looking for sort of lower prices, and that had really been the case. They'd been struggling until sort of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday last week. There was a little bit of a rally. This is a chart of Regis, and that had I think about a 7% rally on Friday. You can see there it's up about 24 cents, 25 cents. Yeah, so 7%. Uh, I'm still thinking this is there might be some sort of short covering sort of effect here. The way there wasn't anything behind that move. Maybe some of these stocks had been oversold a little bit, but I don't. It's still too early for this to be a bounce mine, and the price action has been extremely weak. And I think the thing I said last time, and I think it still remains true, is that there was a massive change in sentiment in the market during the reporting period in July. Most of the big miners, the big mid cap stocks that had that become market darlings, had started to fall. The other one, St. Barbara, has a pretty similar chart to Regis. And that wasn't driven by the gold price necessarily. The gold price has been weak since then, but the Australian dollar gold price was relatively strong in July still. So it was really, I think the valuation of just these stocks had just got a bit overdone, and they came out with some new guidance numbers for FY19 that were not great. So St. Barbara, a similar thing, it had a bit of a rally, 5 or 6% on Thursday, and this was a rebalancing of the gold miner ETFs on Fridays, that high volume, a lot of these stocks, so I can kind of ignore that. So it's trying to carve out a bottom here, but I just feel like there's still weakness in some of these stocks. And as I said, I think there might be something sort of short covering related in that move on Thursday. Evolution's probably been one of the weakest looking charts of all of them. I had this line on my in the video last time as well. It did touch that 262 level, which was clearly, or the sort of the 260 level had been the breakout move in this period in 2016, 2017, and it's sort of come back and reached those levels. But if you see this move here in when we peaked in in a lot of these stocks in mid 2016 and they fell toward the end of the year, they did sort of have a bit of a similar move. So I like to draw these repeating ranges. So that was the same move down, and then it had a bit of sideways action before lower prices sort of presented themselves. So I'm trying to be a bit more patient this time. I think previously, I was buying sort of, when it had stagnated, I was sort of picking the dips in here, what I thought were the dips, and then we rallied again. We went to the downside further, and I think that's a high probability sort of outcome as well at the moment. Some of the others, Northern Star's one that's obviously bucked the trend after it had that announcement of acquiring the Pogo mine in Alaska. So a little bit of sort of climactic action on Thursday, Friday. I think it had a massive move, sort of 8-9%, and then had a bit of a fall on Friday, and it's down sort of 5 or 6% from the highs intraday Thursday to Friday. So I'm just thinking Northern Stars had an extremely good run, and I used to own it, but I just don't know if the value is there. Also, it's reached the top of this range. It does sort of adhere to these tram lines pretty well, and has reached the top of that range, which has historically been a bit of a selling zone for the last 2 years. And I struggle to see it having a strong move in this market where a lot of the other gold miners are struggling. But it's definitely the best in class at the moment. But that mine they're not just going to be able to immediately turn that around. Obviously, for every buyer there's a seller, so it's not there's need to really find out a bit more about that mine, and that can only come from production reports over the next, say, 6-9 months. So we'll see if that was the quality of that acquisition, and if Northern Star can turn it around as well. Some of the others that I'll just blitz through a few more. Resolute's been extremely weak, heavily shorted. Had about 10 down days in a row in August and early September. Had a bit of a rally the last couple of days, but still fairly weak. So I'm not sure what's behind that. I don't own any at the moment. I do like it sort of longer term, but it's really just I think I got out of the last few. I sort of selling around this 130 and then sold a few at $1.40 as well. But I'm just not sure what's behind this and whether there seems to be some fairly high conviction sort of trading there, like high volumes. The shorts picking up more and more shares. So I don't know what's going on there. I'm a bit concerned about their quarterly coming up in October, the September quarterly release, and whether that will still have weak production numbers. So I'm just very cautious there. No rush for me to buy in. I don't know if there's going to be a major turnaround. They're probably still going to have a significant cash burn. So I don't see a major turnaround in the near term for Resolute. So I'm cautious there and looking for a good long-term entry. Some of the other ones, Ramelius, good little move on midweek, and that was backed up by a bit of fundamental news there with the decision to move underground at the Edna May mine, and also a little bit of some satellite acquisitions and a bid for EXU as well. So that looks like a bit of a decent rally there off the lows. Good little pattern there. So probably one of the better charts. Silver Lake as well had a nice rally on Thursday and Friday. Friday was the main move. I don't know what was. I think that's again probably some index trading effects again. I'm a little bit cautious. Silver Lake. I sold most of mine sort of between this 55 and 65. On this move up. I was always only going to trade this stock. It was a very good move from the lows in that sort of 30 to 40 cent range up to the 60 cent sort of level. But I'm a bit cautious here because I know their quarterly numbers, their guidance is for pretty high cost for the first couple of quarters of the year, sort of maybe up around 1400 Australian. So historically, that's been disappointing the market if they were delivering cost numbers like that. So I'd be a bit cautious about owning them at the moment. Dacian Gold, another one, had looked very weak on the chart when it broke down this sort of 260 level after the capital raising around that 270. Initially, it looked like it was going to keep above the capital raising price, and then sort of this sharp drop through it. It's a very sort of a liquid stock, and that tends to overshoot to the downside. I'm looking for a good September quarterly number. And their June quarterly was quite strong, I thought, and I wouldn't be surprised if September keeps up with that. So good buying opportunities here for me, and I have bought a few more if it was to but I need to see confirmation in that quarterly. But I think it's sort of the next stock to be re-rated and still a potential takeover target. Gold Road, very weak as well the last few months. Big rally on Friday again. Who knows what's driving this? I think they were presenting at one of the Colorado Gold conferences. Don't know if that's what's driving the stock up, but relatively, only sort of slightly higher than average volume, and it pushed it up sort of 6-7%, I think. So don't know what's behind that, but I still like the company and have been buying around this sort of levels the last month, and I think they're coming into production sort of in the next 6 to 9 months, and it's a high quality operation and has Goldfields running it. So I think probably will have a better ramp up than some of these other producers. A few of the other ones that I'm following are sort of not in the major producer category. West African, still my best development story, I think. Project's only getting better. Looks like they're going to get debt financing in the next couple of months. I think it's one you just put in the bottom drawer and hold it. It's extremely good value at these levels. Cheapest it's been for almost 18 months. And the project's getting de-risked all the time. So it's the project is a cut above almost every development project worldwide that I've seen in the sort of small mid-cap category. So I think they'll get financing or taken over. It's just a matter of which one comes first. Cardinal, again, had a haven't talked about this one much. I still hold it. Been flatlining for a year now. Had the pre-feasibility release last week. 4.5 million ounce reserve. Great looking project. Again, I think it's one you just put in the bottom drawer. It's a takeover target eventually. not in this market, but if the gold market really picks up, you're going to see some of these companies are going to do very well. And I think Cardinal's in that category with such a huge project that's one of the majors is going to want. There's no other projects with that sort of reserve going around at the moment that are not in. It's very hard to find something of 4.5 million ounces and 350, 400,000 ounce production for more than 10 years. So I'm still like that company. One that I have started paying a little bit of attention to and buying into the last few weeks is Oklo. They're in Mali, and look like we've got probably one of the more exciting gold exploration stories. Very good drill hits from surface. Haven't really tested any much deeper, but I think they've probably got the potential to excite the market. Very thinly traded as well. Bit of volume the last few days, but I think this is again one you put in the bottom drawer right now and you hold it. I don't think there's huge downside from here, but I think they've got very good sort of exploration story, and they're one to watch in the next move in the exploration stocks, which you never know when it's going to come. But I think you want to be in the right companies, and they've got a decent amount of cash. You seem to have good backers. Resolute's got a 10% holding here as well. It's down from 50 cents to 27, so almost a 40-50% fall in the last 6 months. And I think it's extremely good value here. So that's another one I've been buying, but I've been very selective at the moment, just not jumping into a lot of these companies. I think there will be better opportunities in some of them. Some of the exploration stories are starting to get cheap enough that I'm willing to dip my toe in. But the producers, I still think higher probability of more downside. Not significantly more, but I think potentially another 10% downside in some of those stocks, and that's where I'd look to buy some for the longer term. So that's what I'm looking at the moment. I've gone through a fair few charts there. Hopefully there's something you own amongst them.